What's good, YouTube? It's Mally, and obviously this is a video that I do not want to make. Before the video, I just want to say this video is not to bash anyone. It is not to put anyone below me. It is not to cause any drama, and I don't want hate sent to her. I did not bring the situation to the media to be childish, but actually to be mature. I'm as transparent with you guys as possible, and I have to be transparent with this situation. As you saw by the title, me and Kiara are no longer best friends. For me and my perspective, it's just a matter of who grew up and who didn't. But like always, my social medias will be linked down in the description down below. As always, if you want to contact me as a response to all my supporters. And let's just get right into the video. So first I want to sit there and say, everybody is immature. And everybody has a lot of growing to do, and I definitely accept that. But let's take this back last year. Me and Kiara became best friends around this time of the year, last year. This is also around the time that me and Javon and me and Seth have fell off. But I decided to be immature, childish, petty, and add Javon and Seth and Kiara to a FaceTime call so I can be friends with Javon and be able to fight him, and Kiara will be able to fight Seth. And this was last year. As time went on, we just forgot about it. We didn't really care about them. We just said, you know what, we're going to leave them alone. Everything between me and Kiara was going amazing throughout the summer. And even after the Martez situation happened, we were still strongly best friends. The first situation didn't even have nothing to do with me. It was actually Kiara and my brother. This is the first situation to ever kind of break a piece off of our best friendship. And it was with Kiara and Marquise, like I said. So one day, this 13-year-old girl decided to post Marquise and say, oh, best friend. Kiara was the first one to see it, and she sent it to me, and she was like, why I see best friends with a 13-year-old. She just wanted to be a positive person and a responsible person and let the girl know that he did have things with minors. She went along and told Marquise, and Marquise started arguing with Kiara. So the situation didn't have a lot to do with me until further notice. They got in an argument, and then a few days later, Kiara decided to make a video, and this was the challenge.
Behind these dark ass scenes, get your camera phone ready, cause I'm that bitch. When I step in your city, you know I own that shit. I can never argue with no broke ass bitch. Dog, get you some money and stop stalking my page, cause I'm still doing good and all my bills are paid. Tryna beef with me over these whack ass niggas. Bitch, we are not the same, I'm tryna stack 6 figures. When I be on stage, I be shaking my ass with my tongue out high, cause you bitches still mean. Hold on, bitch, this your nigga calling. Gotta hang up on you, cause this my money you stole last. I'm a bad bitch, and I be shitting no hoes.
She made a mixy edit, added Marquise, and this is what sparked everything up. Marquise then decided to go on live and decided to talk about Kiara and also decided to talk about me because I'm her best friend. Then I tried to join the live so I could smash the beef between him and her because I did not want this beef sparked up for a second time because remember, me and Marquise already beefed within the summer because he ran away. But he decided to call me a pedophile, a rapist, all of this kind of stuff, and bashed me. So this is when I decided to clap back, and this is when I dropped all the receipts on Marquise messing with minors. I also want to sit there and say this is not to bash Marquise, I'm just simply telling the story. So long story short, me and Marquise started going very at it, and I was like stressed. I had a lot going on. There was so many people coming at me, and I had to defend myself quickly and fast. So I wanted to vent to Kiara about it, and I was like, Kiara, this is going on, this. And mind you, I'm not the one that started this problem. It was her originally. So around this time, she was blowing up on TikTok, and she was super excited. And I am very proud of her. She should continue to do her thing. So in the middle of me venting about my brother with me being stressed and just conflicted about a whole bunch of feelings, she decided to cut me off and say, oh my God, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just gained 2,000 followers. To me, it just showed that she didn't care about my feelings. She only cared about what she was getting out of it. Because she was blowing up from a few videos, but she also blew up from this video as well. I didn't say anything about it because I knew how to handle situations on my own and I didn't need anybody. I told her my feelings earlier this year, but we would get to that. So the next situation was actually my fault, and it was just me being not careful and me not being cautious. So this situation actually happened before this situation, but it wasn't as big. So this situation in particular was when me, Martez, and Kiara was actually a trio. We were all on the phone, but Kiara had left the call, and we were also on the phone with somebody else. We were talking about a situation. We accidentally said something we were not supposed to, but it wasn't that big of a situation, so we talked it out and got through it. And then that's when the Marquise situation happened. It was much more of a bigger effect. A lot more stuff happened. I don't want to cover that right now because it's over and done with. So as of this moment, we both did a few mistakes and we got over them. So after those 2 disputes, everything was going perfectly fine. I feel like me and Kiara were the best we could be when we did not add people to our friend group. Because when you decide to add people to your friend group, things go bad and things start to turn biased. And I could sit there and say myself, in some situations with the Martez situation, I was biased against Kiara because that was my best friend. And when you add people to your friend group, more people are going to be closer with more people, and that's when it becomes a biased situation. And in all honesty, I feel like that's the reason for mine and Kiara's breakup today. Not to the real part of why we stopped being best friends. A lot happened this year along with me and Kiara. We decided to add a lot of friends to our friend group, and this is when things started to break off. The thing about me is I say a lot of things and I don't actually mean them. And when I mean that, I mean I say things by mistake. So there was a situation where I accidentally said this boy's name that Kiara was messing with to this person, and it sparked a little bit of drama. It was big to Kiara and it was big to me because it affected Kiara a little bit, and it was her feelings, and I do respect that, and I apologize for that. So this is around the time that me, Kiara, Kenneth, Seth, Juwadi, and my sister Jada all become a friend group. We start getting really close, but before we start getting close, I have to mention this part of the story. I wasn't as close with Seth at the beginning of the friendship as I was recently. So I still had these kind of feelings toward him about this Javon situation, and I decided to be petty. I told Kiara, I said, hey Kiara, you should try to flirt with his boyfriend, try to get with him. And we both laughed at it, and nothing ever transpired. But that was my fault for being petty, immature, and not taking the right course of action. But I was so stuck with this fixed mindset that it just needed to be messy and this, and sometimes that's just not the case. There's a time in your life where you have to grow up, and that's what it is now. So with that being secret, we all became friends, and we all became closer. So within this group, we got in a lot of arguments, and that was because of me, and it was a lot because of Kiara as well. I did not take things lightly, and neither did Kiara. If somebody says something we don't like, we are going to speak up about it and not just be shut. So this will cause a lot of altercations between me and Kiara within the group chat, but like I said, a lot of biased things were going on. I never had anyone really take my side, but I did a few times. But sometimes, because I felt like it wasn't up to my liking, a lot of people agreed with Kiara way more than me, it just got me more mad. Then I got my phone taken away for a week back in the beginning of February, but I was getting on Zoom calls with them, I downloaded Text Now on my Chromebook, and I was playing Fortnite with them on my Xbox. But during this time, I was really going through a hard time, and I loved them for being there for me. And I just want to clarify, Kiara hasn't done anything wrong since the Marquise situation. I've been messing up back to back to back. I messed up about the Seth situation, and I messed up about the boy situation, and I also messed up about this situation. So we were all playing Fortnite one night with my sister Jada, and we were all making jokes, and I decided to make a joke that was Kiara's business that I should not have said. I just assumed, which I should not have done, if you have something to say, just ask politely. But I assumed she told my sister Jada, which she also considered her sister, because she told everybody else in the friend group but Jada, but I just assumed that because I knew that she told everybody else. So I made an honest mistake, and she got very upset, which she has every right to do, and I was completely wrong. This is when something switches in me, like I need to make a change because I'm doing a lot of wrong things, and I need to grow up as a person. So apologies are made, and apologies are accepted, and we move on from there. So a few weeks happen to pass, and Seth decides to let us meet his best friend. So this is when we all decide to get in a big group FaceTime call: me, Seth, Kiara, Juwadi, my sister Jada, and Kenneth. And also the best friend. So this is when the best friend decides to tell us about a situation of a white boy saying the N-word. So we add him to a call, we discuss it, and we get through it. So in my group chat, we have a habit of just chewing each other up just for fun, eating each other up, like just making fun of each other. So they were making fun of the lashes that I wore one time, and they were like, they're so skimpy, this and that. I was like, ha 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 ha. And then I decided to say, okay, but I don't need a lash. And I guess this offended some people because Kiara and Juwadi wear lashes frequently. And before we even decided to start chewing each other up, I was already showing my face in the camera when we were discussing the white boy situation. I wasn't looking my best. I obviously have like the facial hair that I have now, and I wasn't looking my best, but I still was showing my face previously. So then Kiara and Juwadi was like, okay, but I don't either. I said, okay, I know that you don't need a lash. I would just say, me in particular, I don't need a lash. And I understand now that can come off as, okay, but I don't need a lash, but you do. But me and Kiara already have many disputes about the lashes of me saying this, and I already explained to her, oh, when I say this kind of thing, it's not meant in any type of way. And she proceeded to disregard that fact and just run with it. And she was like, okay, then cam up. And if you guys don't know what that means show your face on FaceTime. And I was like, oh no, I look crazy right now. She was like, okay, cam up, cam up, cam up. And she was saying it repeatedly in front of the best friend, which I do not know him, so it was getting a little too comfortable for me. I said, okay, but you're trying to make it seem like I'm ugly. And she said, like you always say, take it how you want to. And I do say that in a lot of situations. So me and Kiara proceeded to argue and argue and argue in front of the best friend, and he decided to say, oh, I feel like I have to cam up now. So at this point, I leave the call because it just feels like it's too overwhelming for me. I don't want to continue to get bashed or feel like everybody's being funny to me, so I just leave the call. I told Kiara a few hours later I felt like you were being funny because I obviously discussed with you numerous times that this is not what I mean when I say the last joke. And you proceeded to make it seem like I'm downplaying you. And you proceeded to downplay me and make it seem like I'm ugly. So we worked that situation out, and that was the time that Kiara had messed up. But I will also say that I could have had a better reaction than me arguing with her. I could have just simply called her and not argued and let her know, but it was still very uncalled for and very unnecessary. So a situation that I also forgot to say is about another influencer. So me, Kiara, and Malaysia were all friends. So me, Kiara, and Malaysia were all just having a peaceful conversation, and the conversation came up about money. Malaysia decided to ask me, oh, how much you make on YouTube? And I really honestly don't mind that. I said, oh, I make this much, this much, this much. And she was like, oh, which one was your most paid YouTube video? I said, oh, I made the most video off the video of me, Kiara, and Martez. If you guys have not watched it, the link will be down in the description down below. It was right after the summer, and Kiara proceeded to say, oh yeah, he only got paid that much because I was in it. The reason that hurt me so much is because I never got a shout out from anyone. I never gave a hand-me-down from anyone. I never got anything from anyone. And I've been working consistently for 2 years on all social media platforms. And for you to sit there and feel entitled enough to sit there and say that I only got paid that much because you were in it was very hurtful and very uncalled for and very unnecessary. I felt like she was trying to downplay my craft, and I had to sit there and clap back. I'll rephrase that. I didn't have to, but I did. So then I proceeded to sit there and say, okay, but that video was after the summer, and when we made the Mixie Edit Challenge in the summer. If you guys all know, I'm not going to show it, but if you guys know it, you guys know it. I said it was after that video, and if you really want to be technical, most of the boys in the video were my boys. Not a flex, but I was just simply saying. You didn't contribute a lot to that video, even though it was both of our video, but it was known as Malachi's video, which is a horrible rep for my name. And I've always said that I'm not going to apologize for doing that because they were rude at the end of the day. But sometimes apologies are needed. I want to sit there and say the boys that I did put in that video, I do apologize because I should not have done that. You guys did use me. You guys were rude. You guys were homophobic. Back in the day, I could have just been the bigger person and moved on from the situation and just ignored it. So I do apologize for doing that. So I proceeded to say that most of the boys weren't in that video weren't even yours, and it was around the summertime, so if anything, it would have been because of me. So then she tried to say that I was downplaying her when she did it first. So then when she left the call, me and Malaysia decided to have a private conversation. And I said that Kiara needs to humble herself. I said, don't try to downplay someone when I sat there and helped you do this YouTube thing. I helped you do this with TikTok. I helped you do this. I helped you do that. I'm not saying that I necessarily boosted your platform, but I'm saying that I helped you start these kinds of things. Yes, you already made TikToks and posted them on Instagram, and that's what you were going viral for, but I helped you a lot with TikTok and letting you know if a video idea is good. And also when you wanted to restart your pages, you were also asking me for shout-outs and doing this and this and this. And I just want to put it out there that I'm not doing it to bash her. I'm just saying that I've done these things for you. So it's like you're biting the hand that fed you. And I'm not talking about social media in general. I'm just talking about YouTube and TikTok because that's what my specialties are, and you did the same to me with Instagram. But I would never downplay your craft. So me and Malaysia proceeded to have a conversation about the kiara situation that previously happened in the call, and we were just saying that she needs to humble herself, and Malaysia was sitting there saying, you are right, you know, you didn't have to argue, but she was downplaying your craft, and she should never do that, especially as your best friend. And the next day, Kiara was like, oh, hey, what were you and Malaysia talking about in the call, if you don't mind me asking? I sat there and said, you know, we were saying that you need to humble yourself, this and this and this, you were downplaying my craft, and we were letting her know. She took it as just Malaysia sitting there talking junk and taking the opportunity to come for Kiara. And I told Kiara, I said the same exact thing. She was just agreeing with what I said. So if you're going to get mad at her, you got to get mad at me for saying the same exact thing because all she was doing was agreeing. So, you know, Kiara and Malaysia were arguing or going at it, whatever. And I wasn't really taking any sides because I said these things as well. So I wasn't really taking any sides. I was just like, okay, y'all can go at it. I'm not going to sit there and deal with anything. So then that's when Kiara was like, you're not going to unfollow her off Instagram. Why are you not texting her? Why are you not addressing her? Why are you not doing this? I was like, oh, I didn't know I had to, but then I was just being stupid and I was influenced by decisions, and I sat there and texted her. I was like, girl, I'm not your friend anymore, forget it. I followed her off everything and just left her alone. And that situation was for the friend group. So now the friend group happened and the best friend thing happened with the lash. We got over it. Now let's move on. Now this is one of the biggest situations to talk about. I happened to be flirting with this boy, but I already flirted with this boy way back when, like years ago or like a year ago. But we just happened to rekindle. We were falling asleep on the phone, talking to each other, this and that, whatever. And mind you, Kiara would already be getting mad because I would be hanging up their calls to go talk to him for a little bit because I haven't talked to him all day, or I fall asleep on the phone with him and I don't fall asleep on the phone with them, and Kiara would be getting mad. But Kiara was doing the same thing when she was talking to the boy, you know, that I made the mistake with. She was doing the same thing, and she would call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would answer because I know that you have a boo thing. I was just being respectful and having boundaries. But she was not giving me that same exact respect. So I just want to say that me and Kiara would jokingly flirt with boys and just like, who can get him first, this and that, whatever, and we would do that. But not with anybody that we are currently entangled with, you know? So I'm flirting with this boy for a week and a half, and Kiara decides to ask, hey, do you want to see who can get him first, or are you really messing with this boy? In my head, that already sets off an alarm because it's like, it's been a week and a half. You already know that I'm falling asleep on the phone with this boy. You already got mad and everything. And now you want to sit there and see who can get him first. So that was already weird to me. And the reason that was weird to me is because Javon last year had did the same exact thing. And that was my best friend. And no matter best friends or not, things like this can happen. Also, one of my previous exes, he cheated on me and my sister. So I have a lot of trust issues when it comes to that. So I would say a few weeks later, this is when Kiara wants to start her rap career. This boy is also good at rapping and producing beats and producing music, and he wanted to help Kiara out. So without me knowing, I guess Kiara and him were calling each other and making a song together, and I have no issue with that. But if you're going to be talking to someone I know or someone that I'm flirting with, you should let me know. Yes, you don't have to tell me your exact moves, or you don't have to tell me what you're doing, but if you know that I'm actively flirting with this boy, it would just be very considerate and very mature to tell me that you are talking to this boy, and you know that it's just on a business level. So one night, this boy decides to sit there and call a dark-skinned female, overcooked bacon, and being colors, just being straight colors. I won't even say the things he says. And I got mad.
Well, literally all I said was that she's too dark for me.
You said she's burnt. You didn't say she's too dark. You said she's burnt.
The first thing I said was she's too dark for me. And then you said, what do you mean by dark? I said she's burnt.
You said she's burnt. And then I was like, what do you mean? You said she's mad dark. Like, you know, the face mask that you put on your face, that dark. oh, like overcooked, like overcooked bacon, like overcooked bacon. That's colorist as fuck. Don't do that. And mind you, when the white boy with the situation, with the best friend situation, I emailed his school. He was Hispanic, and it's very different when it comes to Hispanics because Hispanics don't really know where they come from because they come from a whole lot of places. So I educate him, but I still email his school. So I wanted to email this boy's school. So then I told Kiara about this, and she was just completely disgusted. But then she told me he called her. But before he called her, she decided to say, yeah, we should pull up. We should do this. We should do that. I was like, nah, it's just giving emails. I'm not even down to fight. I just want to email his school, email his grandma, and let his life just go from there. And that's when she was like, oh, okay, I guess you want to take all the fun out of it. Just being funny. So then that's when she sends me a screenshot of him calling her, and then she answers. Then after that call, she wants to sit there and say, oh, I just feel like we shouldn't email his school. We shouldn't ruin his life. We should just educate him. So to me, that's just another red flag. Yes, it's always down to educate people, but you still have to hold people accountable. Especially when me and you both were definitely on board of holding the white boy accountable or the white Hispanic accountable for his action, and emailing his school was perfectly okay. And we did the same exact thing with this boy. He's not even homophobic, but we did it because he did some homophobic things. And we cannot make any exceptions. And the reason that I was like, oh, it looks like she's making an exception because she previously said, oh, do you want to see who can get him first? That's what rung bells in my head. So I was just like, ugh, like I can't, I don't know. So a few days go past, we call each other. So a few days past, I call him, and I'm like, I'm going to be posting it on TikTok, I'm going to be emailing your school, and I'm going to find your grandma's phone number, and I'm going to let her know what you be doing and saying. So he was saying like, oh, if you were here right now, I will beat the F out of you, this, and he was just proceeding to threaten me. So I was just being petty and immature and making him more mad and just saying things to make him mad. And I was like, oh, and I know that you be flirting with Kiara. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, it's either you flirting with her or her flirting with you. Either way, it's wrong. So then we get off the phone, we just talk a whole bunch, and Kiara was like, oh, and I told Kiara I would put her on. But then I didn't want to put her on because I know that if I would have said that, it would have made it seem like I'm accusing her of messing with somebody that I'm messing with. I still did think that in my head, like, you're messing with this boy while I'm messing with him, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, no, you're my best friend, you're not going to do that. It was just, I was so conflicted in my head. So then she kept asking the question, but I kept avoiding it because I didn't want to talk about it because it's like, no, I don't want it to argue, I don't want anything to go bad, I'm trying to do good, and I don't want no arguments. So then me and her in a group FaceTime call, but everybody leaves, and she's just like, oh, tell me about the Caleb thing, and I tell her. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe you thought about me like that. No, whatever. And then we talked about it, and everything ended perfectly. We were like, okay. I was like, are you mad? Let all your feelings out now. Tell me what you are so I know how to fix myself in the future. I want to grow, this and that. Let me know. So that's when I'm not even watching her story. I mute her story because I just don't even want to see anything. So the next day, that's when I see her story, and then she starts posting a whole bunch of tweets like, all my friends are bitter, this and this and this. And then she posted a video of saying, ooh, she mad I took her, nigga, ooh. And she decided to be petty. So I went to go text her privately, and I said, I hope you're not talking about me on your story. And I just want to clarify, you did not take anyone from me. I do not care enough about boys for someone to take them from me. I will gladly let you have them if that's what you really want and you really want to be Grammy. You can go ahead and do that. But please do not feel like you took anyone from me. And then we later got on the phone, and she decided to say, oh yeah, I did feel some type because you're supposed to be my best friend. It's crazy how you even think of me like that. I'm like, okay, but we talked about this yesterday. If you had some feelings to discuss, I would have gladly discussed them yesterday, and I would have understood you. But it's the fact of now that we're past the quotes, you post a video saying that you took my boyfriend, you did this, and now it just came to a point where it's like, why? But I will say this is Kiara's way of venting because she doesn't really talk to anybody about her problems, but it's still very immature whether it's your own solution or not. So this is the part that really struck out to me. She was like, oh, and I talked to a few people, and they told me, oh, if he thinks it's of you, just go do it. And she said, so I did. And I couldn't even really get mad because I dropped this boy after the colorism situation. But I was just baffled for the fact of, we fall off for one night and you flirt or you text or you call or do whatever you did with this boy over the night because something went wrong. So in that situation, we got past it. I forgave her for that. I didn't post any tweets. I just was like, okay, it's okay. I'm glad we got past it and moved on. So in that situation, I wouldn't necessarily say that anybody was right or anybody was wrong. It was more about perspectives, and sometimes you just see things differently. So within all this going on, I did argue a lot in the group chat like I have previously said. Me and Kiara did not take anything from anybody, and we would constantly argue. Now that you guys are all caught up on the whole storyline, let's get to now. Before I made the vlog of my last video, which was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, me and Kiara were not talking, and she decided to say something in the group chat. She was like, oh, what should I title this video? Seth said something, and a few other people said some things in the group chat, and then she decided to just post her own caption. So I go look at her story, and I'm like, oh, you should have picked what Seth said. It was like way better, whatever, just saying it as a friend. But mind you, we weren't talking at this point. We were still friends, but we weren't just like talking as of the moment. So then she replies to my message, she says, anyways, she puts ... anyways. So I take that as being petty. So now I'm telling her like, okay, but I was just saying it to be a good friend, but I mean, okay, do you, whatever. And I laughed and I sent a voice message. And then she was like, are you trying to be funny? I was like, I mean, take it how you want to, because that's a phrase that I just say. Like, I mean, you take it how you want. If you want to take it being funny, you go ahead and do that. I'm not going to dictate your feelings. Just take it how you want to. And that is a very passive-aggressive saying, so I don't really use it anymore because I just moved on from that. So we get in a huge argument, and this is what sparks it off. We get in a group FaceTime call. She's yelling. She's screaming. This and that. Da-da-da. Okay, but you're the problem. And mind you, we're all in a group FaceTime call with me, Kiara, Seth, Leilani, and July. This is where I feel like the bias came in. A lot of people might disagree, but I feel like a lot of the bias stuff was going on. Leilani is her best friend, and I feel like Seth just takes her side for everything. Seth has defended Kiara in a lot of situations that she was even wrong in when we were friends, or as I know of. So Kiara was bringing up a lot of valid points about me that were very horrible and just bad character traits. And I said, you know what? Oh, I don't feel this way, but if you're telling me this, like, okay, this and that. And mind you, I wasn't this calm. I was a little bit raising my voice because she was yelling at me and stuff, so I was a little bit raising my voice to get my point across, and I was dictating some things she said, but I just wanted to be heard, you know? But she was telling me this, and I was like, okay, I did do this, I apologize, I'm sorry, this and that. I'm taking accountability for what I'm saying. So after they get done with me, I'm like, okay, now that if you guys want to kick me out of the group, I just want to sit there and say, okay, let's talk about everybody's flaws now. Because if we're getting all of our feelings off the table, I feel like I shouldn't have to be the one to hold it in, but everybody else could let it out about me. Because if you have all these hidden feelings, you guys can come to me, but I understand why they would not want to come to me, because I would argue a whole lot and they didn't want to hear that. So I completely respect them for not doing that at all. Like I said, I was going against some of the things, but I was agreeing with majority of it. So I'm like, okay, let's talk about everybody else. And I'm like, Kiara, you did this, X, Y, and Z, whatever. And she was like, okay, but that's not within the group. I said, yes, it's not in the group because, you know, you don't really do a lot in the group besides when we argue, me and you bicker back and forth. But I do want to talk about you as a person and how you can grow because it will affect the group eventually. And I was bringing up very valid points. I was saying this. And Seth was like, okay, but this. And he didn't want to tell Kiara that she was wrong. Same with Leilani. And well, July wasn't really talking, but it was more so Leilani and Seth. And I was like, okay, I'm wrong. I completely respect it. I'm not going to keep arguing, try to get my point across, and nobody's agreeing with me. And I didn't feel like, and I didn't sit there and mean it as in, oh, you have to agree with me. Because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And, you know, you could tell me why I'm wrong, but nobody wanted to explain it. I sat there and said, you know, if you guys could tell me, like, where have I been arguing lately? Because around this time, I haven't been arguing. It's been like a month ever since the arguments happened, whatever. And I haven't been arguing with anybody. I've been doing my own thing. And I was like, can you guys give me examples where I've been arguing lately? I've been changing as a person. And they couldn't give me any. So then we just argued, and we left it at that. Me and Kiara later got in a call. We decided to talk about it. We talked about it as mature adults. We didn't yell. There was like a little raising voice, but it was nothing too serious. You know, you're going to get irritated talking about the situation over and over and over again. But it was handled maturely. We came to a mutual agreement, and we just stopped being best friends for time being. And mind you, Ken was the only one agreeing with me. That's why I love Ken. So around this time, I was telling Ken and putting him on. And he was telling me everywhere she was right, everywhere she was wrong. He was telling me everywhere I was right and everywhere I was wrong. And I completely respect Ken for that. Being understood and being heard just made me connect to Ken so much. I mean, Ken been friends since 2019, but we just never really clicked. But we finally clicked after the situation. It brought us very close together. So after a few days, I sat there and said, you know, Ken, I want you to be my best friend because you are, and it wasn't more of a replacement thing, but I can see why Kiara would think of it like a, oh, I just want a new best friend real quick, or a replacement kind of thing because I did it so quick. But no, it's because I instantly clicked with him. And especially when I first met Kiara, I clicked with her instantly, like when she was her dead name. I clicked with her instantly. I wanted to be her best friend so quickly, like the first day, but she was best friends with Lay in July. So I didn't want to jump in and feel like I'm taking anybody's spot, you know? That's why me and Ken decided to become best friends. He was so understanding. He does not yell. He does not argue. He just is completely respectful. And if he has something to get off his chest, he will say it in a respectful manner. He also has the amazing vibes. He's funny. He's original. And I just love him so much. And when me and Kiara, you know, she was yelling at me, and when we were all in the group FaceTime call, she was sitting there saying, go to hell. I don't care if you die. She was saying all this stuff. Just completely disrespectful. So disregarding everybody's feelings. Whether you meant it or not, you still were rude, and these things were still said. So me and Ken became best friends. Kiara's gonna come back if it's just because she sees us having fun, because me and Ken were having a great, fantastic time, and we were posting pictures, we were posting videos, we were just having the time of our lives. And I was like, I don't know, I feel like she's gonna come back because she sees us having fun, and I don't want that. Like, if we come off break, I want it to be authentic, and I want it to be real. So I kid you not, the next day, so it was Friday that we hung out, Saturday, she calls me to talk about the whole situation. She wants to sit there and say, you know, I was having a very bad day, you know, and it was on top of that, and you were also getting me very mad. I didn't agree with some of the things that you were saying, but now I do see where you're coming from, and I do believe in character development, but it was just a matter of 4 days, and it happened to coincidentally be after that me and Ken hung out. I also want to sit there and state, when somebody does us wrong, which I feel like is a horrible trait, that when somebody does us wrong, it's like, okay, now I'm about to do you wrong. So it's like, fight fire with fire. It's always been me and Kiara's tactic. If someone is homophobic, but you messed with me, okay, now I'm gonna out you. Or if you're talking junk about me, I'm gonna talk junk about you. It's always been like that. So Juwadi, she happened to have transphobic cousins and homophobic friends, and she would just allow them to say whatever. Even if she would correct them, she would still be friends with them. So Juwadi was already doing us wrong, and we were like, okay, she got a car, let's use her for her car. Me and Kiara both said this. I don't want it to just be a Kiara thing, we both said this. But I will clear everything up so you guys will understand more in the future. So then she's like, what plans do you have? I'm like, oh, me and Ken want to go to New York. We're going to go to Boston. We're going to go to Six Flags. I was telling her everything we're going to do. She was like, okay, add me to all your plans. You know I love having a good time. So this already clicks in my brain. Like, it's like, you know, whenever somebody does her wrong, or whenever someone does us wrong, we always use them. Now it's like you coming back all of a sudden because you see us having fun. So then when me and Ken hung out that day, she was like, oh, I saw your stories from people, and you guys had so much fun. I'm just happy for you guys. And no shade, I'm not no hating ass bitch. You guys look fantastic. So it just felt like she was trying to butter us up to get back into the friendship because she knows that Ken has a car. And like I'm saying, this is not what it is. This is how I feel. And this is how I'm interpreting it because of past situations. So when you continuously do something, like, you know, Kiara's way is venting. She usually subs people when something goes wrong. That creates stigma around you. So when you continuously do something, that's when they're like, okay, like people sit there and say, Malachi, you're known for drama. Because all I would do is get in drama, and I had this stigma around me, and I still have this stigma around me. Like, you're such a drama starter. You're so drama-filled. You're so this. That's stigma that I created for myself because I didn't know how to hold back my words, and I didn't know how to control myself in situations that I needed to. So for Kiara, when something's going wrong, she's so quick to post to social media. That brought stigma around her. And now we know that she subs people a lot. And now we created this stigma around us. When somebody does us wrong, we're going to do them wrong back. And we did you wrong, quote unquote, which I don't assume that. I feel like she did us wrong when she dropped me. And mind you, she didn't even drop Ken. She dropped Ken because he was friends with me. So we did her wrong. So I feel like she just wanted to use Ken for his car. So back to the story. She's like, okay, add me to all your plans. You know I love having a good time. And I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, let's just go along with it. I'm like, yeah, oh, we're doing something this Friday if you want to come join us. And she's like, yeah, of course. And mind you, I have not done anything to mess up any friendship. I've been real calm. I've been just peaceful. I've been finding myself. I just feel so great. And, you know, it was only 4 days that we stopped being best friends. But I would have thought, you know, if she's coming back, she has common sense to start fixing things and just noticing things. Like, if she really understood me, she would start fixing things. And one of the main problems I had was my brother, again. So we were all on the phone, and, you know, we were all joking around, and Seth looked sad because they were all coming for Seth, making fun of him, whatever. I said, Seth, you look like you're about to kill yourself. Just, like, joking, because, you know, that's a saying, like, you look like you're about to kill yourself. I guess that offended him, and he felt some type of way because of personal conflicts. And I was sitting there saying, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I couldn't make that joke around you. I apologize. So that was something that happened with Seth. I just want to put that out there, that I did make the mistake with Seth. But I did apologize because I did not know these things that was going on inside his head or anything that he has to deal with at home. But with Kiara, no, I have not done anything to her. And mind you, I have not been doing anything to Kiara. You know, she has been doing things and things have been happening, and, you know, I've been accepting apologies, but I have not been doing anything personally. So me and Kiara got in an altercation about my brother. I'm not going to say the situation, but she was sitting there comparing me to my brother because this older boy wanted to fuck with me, but Marquise was fucking with little kids. There's a difference when it comes to that. It's different when it's the younger one flirting with the older one and the older one flirting with the younger one. They both should have common sense, but it's too different because one is more mature than the other. The difference between me, I didn't actually flirt with this guy. He was trying to be a pedophile and this and that. I was like, you better cash at me your son, but if not, you bye, get out. Like, I'm just saying that as a joke, like cash at me money or like get the fuck out. Like, it was nothing flirting, it was nothing too serious. Marquise was actually flirting with these people. So for you to put mine and Marquise's name in the same sentence, especially when I told you things that happened with me, my mom, and Marquise, it was just completely disregarding my feelings. And, yeah, I was just like, no, don't mention my brother's name. Don't put me and Marquise in the same sentence. There's no reason for you to be mentioning Marquise's name, period. Just leave him out. So we got an altercation, you know, she was calling me a hypocrite, this and that. But it wasn't on my part. At the end of the day, don't mention Marquise, because last time you mentioned Marquise, it got into a big thing. Just don't mention Marquise. I won't mention Marquise. Just leave it. And mind you, I have not been doing anything, like I said, you know, it was her with the boy thing and her being yelling and doing this and this and this and telling me, oh, I don't care if you die, go to hell, this, and just all these things. I haven't been doing anything at all. And now about the Marquise thing. And then again, Marquise again. We were having a conversation and she wanted to bring up Marquise and compare us again because she was like, it's a good analogy. I told her before, I said, don't put Marquise in analogies with my name. Don't put Marquise next to me. I'm not nothing like Marquise. Don't ever put me next to Marquise. Nothing. Just leave it. Don't mention my brother. It's none of your business. Don't mention him. Whatever he did with kids or whatever he want to do, okay, he could do that. I mean, I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying he could do that. At the end of the day, we try to put him in jail or this and that. We're still trying, whatever. We're doing what we need to do. Don't speak about Marquise, period. I'm not defending my brother or defending what he does. Just don't speak about him. I don't speak about him barely. If, like, somebody asks, like, oh, what happened with you and your brother? I explain it to them, but I don't talk about Marquise. Leave Marquise out. Don't talk about him. She still continues to do it. And I'm like, you're just completely disrespectful. You're disregarding everything I told you not to do. Don't talk about Marquise. Don't talk about him. So then she sits there and says, she's like, I apologize, you know, that was my fault, whatever, da-da-da. She accepts accountability. So now these 4 things are happening. And mind you, I'm just still trying to grow as a person. I'm still just trying to do my thing. Because I know that I've messed up a lot in the future, and I'm never the one to cut the best friend thing out. And the thing about our friendship is whenever we have an argument or anything, I'm usually the first one to apologize. Because I fought for the friendship for so long. Every time an argument happens, I apologize. I say, girl, you know, it's my fault. I just take accountability, even when it's not. I just say it because I don't want our best friend ship to fall out. And that was a mistake on my part. So I'm going to explain this last situation, and this is where it just completely breaks off, and then I'll talk about my feelings. Like I said, we have a group chat. Kiara decides to add her friend, Ari. I'm like, hey, Ari, what's up? Like, I'm welcoming her into the group chat. And whatever. We move on. You know, she's in the group chat, whatever now, whatever. Kiara calls Ken, and Kiara's just telling him about, like, this police thing or something, whatever, blah, blah. They hang up. She calls back, like, 5 minutes later, whatever. She has 2 phones. So she has an iPhone 7 and an iPhone XR. She's on the phone with Ken on the XR and calls, and Ari's on the other phone. So then Kiara's like, okay, Ari, go ahead and ask Ken. Ari proceeds to sit there and say, oh, Ken, do you mind if you can drop me off to my boyfriend's house? I'll pay you gas money. When Ken told me this, it completely broke my heart. Because I already knew what was going on. Or I have an idea of what's going on, I should say. There's either 2 things. It's either, Kiara, you're telling people that he has a car, and you're offering his car, which is horrible, which you should not be doing because he's not an Uber. Or she saw it on social media and she felt entitled enough because she doesn't even know Ken at all. She only knew his name. She don't know his favorite color. She don't know where he works. She don't know none of that. She just knows him because she just got added to the group chat. I'm talking about like an hour after, like an hour before. So it's either B, she saw it on social media and she felt entitled enough to ask when she don't know somebody. So I said, either way, it's you're wrong because why are you offering the car? Or she's wrong because why is she asking for the car when she don't know this boy? Gas money or not, she don't know him. And especially when we're all supposed to be mad close, she don't know him. So I said, Kiara, we have to talk later. I add me and Ken to a group chat with Kiara. We're like, Kiara, we're talking nicely, maturely, nicely, because we want to have a grown adult conversation. If you feel some type of way, talk nicely, talk respectfully, and we can get over it. I'm like, Kiara, this is how, like, you know, we would feel, whatever, this and that, da-da-da. And she's like, okay, but why do you feel this way? Like, Ken could speak for himself. And that is completely true. But when me and Seth would get into a mini altercation or a disagreement or anything, you know, she would always stick up for Seth because Seth doesn't like arguing or Seth doesn't like that type of stuff. That's just Seth. That's just the type of person that Seth is. No, just don't do that. So now she has a problem with me doing it because, like, I don't know why. I'm like, yes, he can speak for himself, but I just explained it better, so I'm going to tell you. She's getting loud. She's like, this, yelling. And I'm like, what are you yelling for? Like, you could pipe it down. Like, we're talking. We could talk maturely. We could talk like adults. And mind you, Kiara always does this. Whenever she's arguing or whenever we're having a conversation, she will always get loud. She will always get annoyed. She'll leave the call. She'll yell. She'll tell you, go to hell, die, this, that. She don't care. She's just ruthless. And that's the thing that's not going to get her far. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm just saying that's not going to get you far in life if you're going to continue. If you don't know how to, like, code switch, if you don't know how to talk maturely, if you don't know how to do none of that, it's not going to get you anywhere. So that's when she's like, okay, but why are you asking me? Add Ari to the call. And I'm like, okay, I'll add Ari to the call. We add Ari. I'm like, hey, Ari, like, what's up? She's like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm like, oh, this. And she's like, okay, but why are you telling me? Giving me attitude. Ken's like, oop. Like, and mind you, whenever we say oop, it's like, oop, like, oh, God, like, why is she talking like that? Or like, oop, that just happened. We just say it out of shock. So Kiara's like, okay, Ken, don't say oop. I mean, Ken can say what he would like to because he's not really say anything bad. He just said oop, like, because he was shocked. But don't make it seem like Ken can't say oop or something because he can speak when he's wants to. And I don't mean that in a passive-aggressive way. I'm saying that just to clear the air. It's just like Ken can speak if he wants to. Like, don't try to shut him up because he said, oop. Mind you, it is instigating. Like, Ken, you could have just shut up, period. But if he wants to say something, I mean, he can. I'm like, because Ken doesn't care. Like, he would give you a ride. It's just the principle of why would you ask? And I feel like that's what they both didn't get. That's what Kiara and Ari didn't get. They're like, okay, but he could have just simply said no. He could have. And he could have said yes. That's not the problem. The problem is that you felt the need to ask. You don't know this boy. You don't. If I sit there and I see someone driving a Lambo, I'm like, hey, I'll give you $1,000 to put in your gas tank. I'm not saying that for real. I'll give you $1,000 to put in your gas tank. Can you bring me? But I don't know this boy. Why? You're not gonna. Why would you feel obligated enough to ask me to use my car? Don't do that. That's what I was saying. It's entitlement. It's disrespectful. Because at the end of the day, he's still running his miles. He's still running his gas tank. He's still doing that even if you're paying it or not. You don't know this boy. That's what I was just trying to get across. But it was, what they were saying is like, it's just a simple yes or no question. But no, it's more than that. Because if you knew this boy, then okay. And then they were like, oh, because I asked Ari for $6 one time because I ordered like a large package, whatever. I was just $6 short. She was like, okay, but did you know me? I said, yes, we had a few conversations. You know, you comment on my Snapchat. We have a few conversations. We've called each other before, like 2 times, whatever. We're cool enough. I was like, $6 and then I'll cash up you $10 if you want it. I mean, it's not really that serious. I didn't think it was that serious. If you want your $6 back, you could just text me and tell me that. I mean, okay, I have no issue with doing that. But it was just saying, it's just the principle, you know? So this is when I'm talking to Kiara now. Like, it's me, Kiara, and Ken in the call. And I'm like, okay, but Seth also does this. Like, I also want to say this because I know you're good friends with him. You could translate it to him because I know that he's sleeping. He just got back from school. And she's like, don't do it with Seth not in the call. I'm like, okay, you're right. That's absolutely my fault. You know, I shouldn't be talking about him behind his back. I'll just wait for him to wake up. So he doesn't even get a chance to wake up. And this is when the pettiness starts to kick in. Kiara sent me this long paragraph saying, you know, we could probably be best friends in the future. We could do this. We could do that. I love you, whatever. I hope to wish the best for you. She sent this. And in my head, I'm like, okay, you know. And I'm just like, I'm done. I just say, agreeable. I don't have time to write the paragraphs back and forth like, oh my God, I love you so much more. Like, oh my God, I love my message. Like, no, agreeable. You're correct. Maybe, maybe not. I love you too. You know that. Agreeable. Leave it at that. So, you know, Ken says case closed. And then that's when, you know, she's posting tweets on social media. She's doing this, she's doing that. It's just getting dragged. And that was actually before we got in the call with Ari that Ken was like, case closed, because we talked about it through messages first before we got in the call. Ken was like, case closed. That's when she started posting. That's when we got in the call with Ari. Then she sent me that long paragraph. So, you know, to me, I think Seth is still sleeping, so I was just deciding to call him later and put him on about everything, let him know, see his perspective. If he doesn't want to be my friend, then that's perfectly okay. And mind you, I also want to sit there and say, this is why I believe that Seth was following along with Kiara. When Kiara dropped me the first time, Seth stopped being my friend. But he stopped being my friend for a personal reason because I did record him saying something about Kiara and I showed Kiara. He was like, that's weird, you know, you shouldn't be recording your friends, whatever, da-da-da. But I showed Kiara. So I was like, okay, if you don't want to be my friend because of that, of course, you don't have to. Then Kiara, you know, when she be my friend, you know, when she apologized after that Saturday, she was like, I apologize, this and that. And that was the reason I took her back. But Seth just automatically started being my friend again. You know, he followed me back. He started liking my posts. And it was like, but I thought you didn't like me because of your own reason. But Kiara said that her and Seth talked and they mutually agreed to, like, be my friend again, whatever. But it's still the fact that I didn't get an apology because Seth was still being rude in the call and Seth was still, like, being biased and all this inside of the call. And that's just, like, you're making me feel like shit. So that's why I felt like Seth needed to apologize. You know, I apologize to Seth. I said I shouldn't have done this, this. But you should also apologize because you were being straight up rude and Kiara even knows that. So Kiara starts to be my friend. And then this happens. They all send a meme at the same exact time. It's like, bye bitch, like buy this, buy that. And then they all leave the group chat. That's when I text them all privately and I say these things. This, and this. I'm just like, you guys are being immature. I need you guys to stop this. Can you guys please stop? I don't appreciate this. And they're all sending memes back and forth. All the messages will be here. It's just back and back. Memes. They're making it a joke when I'm really telling them, like, please leave me alone. Like, stop. I don't want to lash out on anybody. I'm just trying to take the bigger route. Like, please just leave me alone. And then that's when, you know, we get an altercation, this and this and this. And I'm sitting here explaining my feelings. Like, you guys will see all the messages here, everywhere. And I'm like, Seth, it's just funny how, you know, all of a sudden Kiara's not my friend. And then you're not my friend anymore. And then I say, Seth, it's just crazy how all of a sudden that Kiara's not my friend and then you're not my friend now. And he's like, oh, I've just been holding so much back now, but I haven't even been doing anything to Seth at all. The only thing I said was oh, you look like you're about to kill yourself, which I feel like it was very sensitive, but it was just a joke to me, but I didn't know it was a joke. It wasn't a joke to him. That's the only really thing I did, and we talked that out, but you're saying you have all these mixed feelings, this and that, then why would you become my friend again? So I'm having respectful conversations with everybody, but Kiara's still trying to argue and doing this, and I'm going back and forth with her. And that really concludes that. Now I'm going to talk about my feelings. I don't really talk about my feelings a lot with anybody, because it's just a lot of people do it to be out to get you. I loved Kiara to the death of me, obviously. It's like my sister. I paid for her birthday outfit. $60 out of my pocket. I paid for your phone bill twice, 2 months, $120, $60 a month. I paid for Ubers, $20, $30. I do things for this girl because I love her, and like I love her like a sister. And it just turns around and does this. I've been working on growth, and I've been working on maturing as a person. And when me and Kiara were having these conversations on the phone, you know, with me, Kiara, and Ken, she was like, okay, but you were 15 doing these kinds of things. So now, like, and I'm 15 and that was a problem? Yes, it is a problem. It was a problem when I was doing it. But I'm mature now to see that it was wrong. And I'm trying to tell you now at 15, girl, that's not the best idea. All it did was get me in drama. All it did was get me looked at weird. All it did was get me in trouble. Don't do it. And I do understand that you have to experience some things for yourself to learn. But some things you can hear from others like, girl, cut that shit out. That's going to get you in drama. You got to hear it from your other friend. And I've been trying to do that recently with her. Like for this whole year. I've been trying to do it. Because I don't want to see you get in drama. I don't want to see you get in trouble. But she's using the excuse that I'm young. I'm going to do these things. Yeah, you are young. And you are going to do these things. But if you can avoid them, then avoid them. And I'm telling you to avoid them because I'm trying to be your bigger brother. And with all this, you know, it was just me and Ken again. And it was just me and Ken again. And that's when it was like Ken was telling me, you know, you're right, you know, you did handle this all perfectly, you know, you are being the bigger person, me and you are being the bigger person, you know, we're handling this very well, but it's like, it felt like it wasn't enough for me. I proceeded to ask older people. I asked people that were 17, 18, 19, even 20. I explained the situation to them. I explained it to 4 people, or like 5 people. No, 5 or 6 people actually, all older, 17 and above. You did do the right thing. You were immature in these parts, and I explained it from like the beginning, from like I explained it to you guys from the beginning to now. They saw my character development. They saw my growth. They seen me maturing. They see that I didn't lash out as much as I did before or argue and this and that. Like I started to even just say okay to certain situations, like that me and Kiara would get into it. I'll just be like, okay, like literally okay, lowercase, because I didn't care anymore. I moved on because I know that some things need to be ignored in life. And I talked to them, and they were telling me, like, I see this. Like, you are going to get far with that, you know? And then I talked to a few younger kids, like, my age, like 16, 15, 14. And they were like, oh, you and Kiara will be best friends again. Like, oh, it's just petty. Like, don't worry. I know that you guys will. Like, oh, my God. Like, I'm so sorry that happened. And I just saw really the growth with the, like, range within all these ages. And it's actually, like, outstanding. It's crazy. And one of the 19-year-olds that told me, they were like, you can't force maturity onto somebody. And that really hit me hard because it's like, that's what I would do with Kiara. I would try to be like, girl, like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And I did this before, I did this before, I did this before. But I'm telling her through my experiences. And I matured from it. You can't force that on nobody else at the end of the day. I tried to help her. She didn't want to take it. She chose immaturity. She chose pettiness. She chose to hop on the internet. She chose to do this. She chose to argue. She chose to get mad. She chose to tell me to go die. Not go die, but you could die for all I care. Go to hell, this and that, da-da-da. She decided to do all these things. Well, I decided to, okay, I completely respect your opinion. Okay, but can I get my point across? This and this, this. This and this. Ignore. Can you please stop? I'd appreciate it if you just don't text me anymore. I saw the growth. I saw the range, and I saw immaturity and maturity. And that's why we stopped being best friends. Because one person's stuck while one person is moving on. And last year, it was two immature people. It was me and Kiara making the mixy edit last year, being immature, and we got it. We know that was me. And I was being immature because that was me in 2019 as well. Now, though, it's wrong. Making that video was wrong. Arguing with people wrong. Making people feel like they're walking on eggshells, wrong. You do me wrong, I need to do you wrong. Wrong. Some things don't need a reaction. And that's what I learned. And that's what Kiara needs to learn too. And she needs to humble herself. And Kiara, if you're watching this, you need to humble yourself. And I say that in the most loving way possible. And I even told you that yourself. Because even people that you were close to said you don't like hearing about yourself. And you know that as well. You try to downplay my craft that I've been working on for 2 years and said I only made the most money because you were in it. These are things that you don't do. And I learned that. All I gotta say now is I'm just grateful for the friends I have now. Older ones at that. I learned you can't force maturity on nobody. And if Kiara decides to make a video explaining more points that she has, because I'm pretty sure I covered every single thing. And I want to say this. She's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But you can grow. And if you choose not to grow, that's on you. I chose to grow. She has not yet. She has made some improvement, but not a lot. I want the best for her, and I wish her the absolute best. Oh, I will also talk about the round and roll situation. So before I went to round and roll, me and Kiara were on the phone. And I was like, I don't want to be friends with Ju because even, like, we're going to use her for her car, whatever, me being stupid, whatever. Like, we're going to use her for her car. I was like, I don't even want to, because at the end of the day, it's like, she's disrespectful. She's allowing disrespect around. I don't want to do that. I don't even want, I still have some self-respect for myself. Like, I don't want, even if we're using her, we're getting something out of it, it still is not satisfying me because she's still around me. This negative energy is around me still. And Kiara was like, okay, but how you listen to all the city girls? And it's like, okay, sometimes you got to deal with something to get what you want. And I'm like, okay, I see where she's coming from, but I'm still like, okay, self-respect. But, I went to Ronda or whatever, and she happened to be there, whatever, So I went to Ronda and she was there, and we took a few videos and this and that, and I was twerking outside a car, getting lit, and she was recording me. So I would say I was being overly friendly. So I was being a hypocrite, saying that, I have self-respect, I don't want to talk to her because she's still doing that, but I was allowing her to take videos with me and of me. So I was being a complete hypocrite. But I wasn't doing it on the intentions of her car. I was just doing it because I saw her in a public place and I knew that all my supporters would be here, and I was just being friendly. It could have been a cordial thing, like, hey, bye, not the recording and stuff, but I just did that because I was just in the moment, living it up. So while I was at Ronda World, some supporters came up to me and they wanted me to co-host a birthday party for them. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds cool, like, I'm down to do it, like, whatever. I was like, also, how about Kiara, like, can she do it as well? They're like, yeah, of course, she can do it as well, too. So I gave her this opportunity. I don't know what the price is going to be, maybe like $50 an hour, or like for 6 hours or whatever, or a straight price like $300 or something. I don't know what it's going to be, but I also offer Kiara this option. I wanted to give her this opportunity because I know it will be my first event, and I know it will be my ex-best friend's first event. Like, it's such a big deal. But with all this pettiness that she was doing on social media and throwing subs and making me feel like shit and sending these memes to laugh at me and do this and this, I decided to take her out of the co-hosting party. I don't feel any remorse towards it or any guilt towards it. I feel as if you're going to be rude and you're going to be disrespectful, you have to take the consequences that come with it. And I decided to take her out of it, and you're not going to have that opportunity. You have to earn it on your own. If you didn't throw shade on social media, if you didn't be petty, if you didn't be disrespectful, it would have never led to that. But you were. And that's just being mature. And that just shows immaturity. I just handled it like an adult. Because I'm growing up. And that's what I need to do. I'm going to be 18 next year. I need to grow up. There was a lot of ups and downs in our best friendship. But now, recently, it just had a lot more downs than ups. And I grew up. And she didn't. She wants to experience things and not take the advice. I'm going to let her do that. I do wish her the best. And this, like I said, this is not any hate towards her. It's not to bash her. But she has a lot to work on. And I worked on a lot myself. You know, I was wrong. I will take accountability, and I do apologize for anything that I've done in the past. But recently, you know, it's been her. Yeah, that's all I have to sit there and say. But guys, go ahead and subscribe to her YouTube channel. I do wish her the absolute best in her YouTube journey. I'm never going to discredit someone's YouTube. I will never do it. I wish her the absolute best. And I love you, Kiara, to the death of me. This is not to bash you. It's simply to just tell my side of the story. Because as social media influencers, our best friendship is on the internet. And I just want to let our supporters know that they will no longer be seeing any of us. Hi, guys. This is Future Malachi. And I just want to say that you guys will not be seeing Kiara for further notice. I'm not saying this is the complete end of our best friendship. But just until we can connect again. Just until she grows up. And then just in case, like, you know, we do have a lot more character development, then you'll be seeing her again. But till then, you guys will not be seeing her. Thank you. So on that note, thank you guys so much for watching. My social medias will be linked down in the description down below. As always, if you want to contact me, respond to all my supporters. And thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.